Welcome to the Road to Launch podcast. I'm Katell Schmitz, creative director and co-founder of Flairée. Join me and Jon, my husband and business partner, as we share the behind the scenes of turning an abstract dream into an intentional product.
So let's go back to the beginning. We talked in the first episode about the whole process of you telling me about it, of how you were thinking on coming up with a new business and that whole process. But let's go back to the beginning. Like, where did this all start for you?
So this started for me in August 2020. I think I was just really burnt out with what we were doing for work. I just felt like I was supporting, which is nothing wrong with that. And this, I thrive on that, right? But I was supporting other people's vision and dreams. And I felt like, well, how about my dream? I feel I want my own voice. And there were a lot of talk about own voices around that time in books and in music and art. And I felt like, well, I need my own voice. I want to create something that I'm giving or selling directly to the people that are going to use it. I want them to know I thought about this, I had this vision for you, and here it is, and I wanted to be proud of that. So a lot of ideas came through.
What kind of ideas? What were you coming up with?
Well, I was thinking of doing earrings. I was thinking of doing just all kinds of different things.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized I'm not passionate about this. This is not connected to me at all. Oh, it's just a jewelry, not just earrings, but it's not connected to me at all. It just feels like an idea just for the sake of an idea. So I had to really sit down and be disciplined and patient with my own self and realize, what do I want to create? What is connected to my story, to my culture, being French, also being Ivorian from the Ivory Coast, Africa, and how do I bring all that together? And I think by the time we got to April 2021, which is around my birthday, I realized, I think I had a dream or something, but I realized perfumes, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. It's connected to me. It's connected to both my culture. How you present yourself is very important, both my French and Ivorian culture, and how you feel about yourself. We all know the story of putting a bold red lipstick on, and that makes you feel confident and all that. And I think with scent and perfume, it's the same thing. So I realized this is what I want to do. And that's when I came up to you and I said, this is it. What do you think?
Yeah. So what about the name? Where you had the idea of making perfumes and fragrances, like where did you go next? When you brought it to me, did you already have the name in place? Is that something you kept thinking on? Did you have other ideas and other options?
I don't remember that when I came to you first with the idea that I had the name, but I don't remember other names either. So I'm going to guess we probably didn't shuffle through too many names. We got to Flairée very quickly.
I just remember that always being it, but...
Yeah, so I knew I wanted to be in French.
Yeah.
Once again, going back to being French.
Word.
And I knew I wanted to mean more than just smelling something or something that had to do with smell and scent and all that. So Flairée has those two meanings. So it has to do with smells, smelling, sniffing, all that stuff, inhaling and all that. And I even shared with you that quote about hug me, that says, hug me until I smell like you. Because I think that's what I want people to feel like when they put on perfume or when other people smell them. But Flairée also is connected to instincts, being instinctive. Think prey, predator. I sense this danger. I sense this is good for me. I sense this is bad for me. And I wanted that to be connected, because this is what we're doing when we're creating all natural perfumes. It's not just smelling good. It's also feeling good about it and not destroying your system. Or if you're being with people that have allergies, not giving them headaches or what, you know what I mean? So it's connected to scent, but it's also connected to what are we learning from nature and how are we using this in a way that is honoring to our senses.
Yeah.
So that's Flairée.
That's cool. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So when we have the name, we have the idea of perfume, but like there's more to building a business than that, obviously, because if there's no personality, if there's no POV behind what you're creating, it's not very likely going to succeed, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what was the thing? I know we started talking about all those components as well. You've mentioned the natural, the clean, the no headaches, low tox type of thing. But what really is the POV? Like, when you were thinking of this, what were you looking at?
I mean, I've been using designer perfumes forever. This is what we do. And you just accept the fact that it's not good for you. You accept the fact that there are so many bad chemicals in it. The ingredients are low quality. They just smell good. We've accepted that this is what perfume is. But what if we didn't, So what if we create an alternative that I smell good, I can smell good, I don't have to have a headache, I don't have to know that I'm quote unquote poisoning myself just because other people have said this is the status quo. So that's when we started deciding, or realizing we want to set a no compromise standard. We started using that term right away. So what does that mean? What are we going to do? How are we going to get to that point? And you've done a lot of the research, so I think you should actually share about that.
Yeah. Well, I know for me, just starting with all this, you talk about, you had been using perfumes a long time. That's very much part of, where you come from, your family culture. I'm the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
Like nobody in my family ever really wore perfume. It wasn't in the house. I think at some point you bought me a cologne that I ended up really liking.
I think first Christmas we were married.
Yeah, a long time ago you bought me, and I think since that was 2010, and I'm on my second bottle of it now, 13 years later. So it wasn't ever something I used a lot of.
Yeah.
And I knew absolutely nothing about it. I didn't. If somebody would ask me like, what is in that bottle, I don't know, like perfume juice, whatever. But I think when the discussion came up, like, okay, here's the idea. How do we create a physical perfume in our hand? How does that even happen? And then we realized, oh, wow, the process of actually mixing a perfume is fairly straightforward. It's really not an overly complicated thing. Now, that's the at first view. Then you start looking into, okay, why do designer perfumes give people headaches, some people headaches? What's actually happening there? What are the components of the perfume that's causing all of those? And people with specific allergies, why do some people react more than others?
Yeah.
And started doing that research. It's like, oh, there's actually a lot of details to this. And you have to spend a lot of time. Although, I could sit here and mix a perfume in a couple of seconds. Like, what is it? Like, for one, is it going to smell good? Is it going to is it going to give some people headaches? And, learning all about that is, we then saw a path to, okay, we want this, the path to creating something that people can wear all the time and it not give people headaches, there's a path to that. And it's very possible. You just have to really pay attention to the details and work within this structure that allows for that.
Yeah. And I think right away what we said, before we even learn all of the things you just talked about, is we're still using it, this tagline, to be of good fragrance. This is where we started, and this is how we're going to launch still. And I think to be a good fragrance meant that, yes, you smell good. When you walk into a room, you bring that scent in, but you also bring all the good stuff with you. You're not bringing the bad stuff. How these ingredients are sourced, that's to be a good fragrance. What you put on yourself, caring for your own body and your own senses, that's to be a good fragrance. How you walk into a room and you put yourself in a circle of people, that's to be a good fragrance. And I think it can be this beautiful concept. That's easy, right, to come up with a beautiful concept, but then you have to go and learn all the things you just talked about.
Yeah.
How do you make that happen? That's where it gets difficult. And you realize that you just have to have no compromise.
I love when we came up with the idea of no compromise. I like that because it reminds you when you see it, and you don't want to, to have a mantra or whatever, it can be cheesy, but to be reminded of your main points, that's huge because like you said, the cruelty free, sourcing things ethically, sustainably, and then that's just getting the stuff and then putting it together in a way that is clean, truly clean, using truly natural ingredients. Now, these are terms we can get into and what they actually mean probably in some other episodes, but that's a whole can of worms. That, like, there's so much dishonesty out there about those things. And also from the other side too, and that's going to be some interesting topics, but I think throughout that whole process of staying true to that vision and intention is key to getting here. Yeah.
And I think sometimes, I know people have asked me why perfumes, and I didn't mention that earlier, but I think scent is part of our personal love story. And I think probably this is also connected to why I came up with the concept of perfume, because we were in a long distance relationship for 4 years before we got married. And although FaceTime wasn't there at the time,
we'll spent a lot of money on calling cards back then.
We had sound, we had videos sometimes, but I think something that really triggered a lot of memories and feelings for us when we were lovesick was scent. Sending me your sweatshirt in the mail from America to France, and it smelled like you. I mean, talk about a trigger of memory. And I think that's also one of the reasons why we wanted to do perfumes. And but also saying we want to do that without having to give up on other things. And something I say all the time is the modern shopper or the modern human really shouldn't have to choose between something as powerful as scent triggering memories, this beautiful romantic concept, and putting unhealthy stuff on my body. You shouldn't have to choose one or the other. And what we've realized by learning all the things you just talked about, you don't have to.
Yeah.
So it's good news. It takes courage, I think. It takes energy, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've talked to a lot of people about other businesses. You know, they like one friend I remember talking to, he's like, I want to buy a good pair of shoes. And to find a pair of shoes and to actually be able to see the facts behind how was it made, who made these, is there any ethics behind these at all, or are we just doing what so many companies do and they throw that to the wind? And he said it was so hard to find. He was looking for running shoes specifically. It was so hard to find a good pair that he believed in and that could prove that they actually were responsible in how they created these things. And he did, and that was great, but it took a lot of effort.
I was just going to say,
it took a lot of effort on his part.
And it should be more accessible.
It should be more accessible, and companies should be more transparent. And being transparent is a big part of this, because you can say all that you want to, but the proof's in the pudding, the proof's in the details. How do you actually confirm all these things are the case?
Yeah.
And so I think that goes into the mission. I'd like to hear you kind of talk about, like, what's the mission and vision of Flairée? Why are we wanting to do this? Like, make a clean and natural perfume instead of fragrances. Like, what's the vision for people's daily life and daily use? And
I think a big part of it was probably selfish at first. You know, it's just I never want to. I've been, I should say, cleaning up the products I use, or using things that are not so harmful, like we switch out deodorant, like different things like that, right? But I was not, as a French person, I was not willing to give up on designers' perfumes and fragrances. It's just not something. Every day I perfume myself, and I was not willing to not do it. And because it makes me feel luxurious, makes me feel beautiful, it makes me feel like I bring in something, what I want to bring into the room when I walk in. And even just being by myself, how I smell when I move my arm or whatever, right? So I was not willing to give that up. But at the same time, I wanted my cake and eat it too, right? So I think at the heart of it, what we want is in those daily, ordinary rituals, things we put on ourselves all the time. How do you bring luxury into that? But also, how do you give people the alternative and the access to taking care of themselves, making that decision, to make it easy for them, essentially. You don't have to give up on putting makeup on. You don't have to give up on perfuming you every day. You don't have to give up on these things that you do every day that support how you take care of yourself. And here's an alternative for perfume.
Yeah.
And I think we want to even expand later. We're starting with personal perfume because that's at the heart of scent. But we want to take it even to different places, and I think we can talk about that another time. But did that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah? And I liked early on you talked about the idea of the everyday ritual of using these types of products, and that, you know, on my end got me thinking, like, okay, what does that actually look like? And there were a couple components of that I wanted Flairée to address. And I think the two main ones were the clean side of it, and the fact that we're using only truly natural ingredients that actually are grown out of the earth, and then they're using them and making these perfumes in a way that they are clean, and that
you can use every day.
That you can use every day without the headaches, without the rashes. You know, we know a lot of people that when using designer perfumes, they either get rashes, they get headaches, or both.
And they give up on it.
Yeah,
you're
not going to do that every day. Who would do that to themselves? You're probably not even going to do it on special occasions.
Yeah.
So thinking, okay, what does that actually look like every day to be able to use something like that? And it's to get past those things and to use something that when you put it on your body, you feel like, yes, this is a natural thing I'm putting on, made in a way that is clean. And I think the other component for that for me is just also financially. You know, you look at a lot of these new perfumes that are coming out now, $200, $300, $400, some of these things. Now that's great. Like, go make your money, people. But at the same time, like, these are just huge companies that are just putting huge price tags on things, like so many people are doing today. And that's just, I don't want that. Like, I don't want to buy perfumes like that. And I don't want ours.
You don't use that every day. If you buy a bottle that is this small for $400, you're not using that every day.
My mom still has a bottle of Chanel 5 from when my dad got it like 30 years ago. like, because she wasn't going to wear it every day because she knew what it cost
Yeah.
him. So it's that to be actually accessible and to be part of your everyday routine, keeping the cost down is a part of that.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we want to take and stick to, and make things accessible on both those levels.
Yeah. And I think in a way that's us also being of a good fragrance, right? It's just not, it's about caring about them too, you know, creating like you were saying, accessible. Price point is accessible too, I would think. And it's inviting over people. The vision is inviting over people into this journey of no compromise, in this journey of taking care of yourself, in the journey of adding things that are good for you, make you feel good in a vain way, if you will, but also don't make you feel bad in a non-vain way. And instinctively, you know you're doing something right for yourself. And that's the invitation of Flairée, I think, at the Flairée store at the end of the day, is just, let's do this together. We're creating these products for us, for all of us that want that, for all of us that don't want to compromise, for all of us that know better. Most of us know better, but know better and are brave enough to make these efforts. Like your friend, it's so hard. Let's not make it hard anymore. It doesn't have to be hard. Here is our contribution to this story, to this journey.